You're listening to the N.W.A, the Nubian Wrestling Advocates.
You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge.
Yo, it's Righteous Reg. It's a case for the safe, keep a space for the Nubians. Unfiltered, off-kilter, the professor, the godfather, post-wrestling, the N.W.A, not keep guessing, The views and expressions, you know the rest, it's pod excellence, get the message. Advocates for Nubian wrestling, you're listening to the best again. Black wrestling in the ring we invested in. Nubian kings and queens we invested in. It's for the culture and we reppin' it. It's for the culture and we reppin' it.
And welcome to the N.W.A. Podcast, the Nubian Wrestling Advocates, presented by Post Wrestling. We are back and better than ever. Happy New Year, everybody. We are excited for our first show of 2023. We have so much to talk about, so many good things to chop up, and also a little bit of foolishness to get into this month on the show. But before we get into why we are here, we got to let you know who we are. Of course, I am the Godfather Nate Milton, your favorite podcaster's favorite podcaster, and I am joined by the youngest in charge, the man that's going to give you all the news that's fit to read, one of the hardest working brothers in the game today, Andrew Thompson. What's good, nephew?
It's good to be back on the show, man. It's always good to see my guys, man, Uncle Nate and Uncle Kris. Hey, you want to know it real quick, but like every time we do this show, I'm always listening to the intro that Reg did. Bro, he went crazy on that joke. He went crazy. Yeah. Like every time I listen to him, I'm always like, he went hard on that.
Yeah, salute to that brother Righteous Reg for that one.
Yeah, sure, shout out to Reg.
But yeah, man, it's always good to be back. It's our first show of 2023, and like Nate said, we're gonna be starting off with a little bit of foolishness before we get into the good stuff, man.
Oh, so Andrew, if we're gonna get into some foolishness, we need somebody that can make sense of the foolishness, somebody that can break things down for us and the audience so that we can understand it better. And that's why this man is on the show each and every month. Y'all know him, y'all love him. He is the angry intellectual. He is the mayor pro tem of Los Angeles, California. He is the man who ain't scared of almost on these streets, even in 2023. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the man, Mimosa Kris, a.k.a. Moderna Kris, a.k.a. the Professor Kris Ealy. Can we rock? What's up, Doc?
Hey, what is up, y'all? Just chilling, still recovering from post weekend and from the holidays.
Took a lot out of you.
Oh yeah. And I proposed to my girlfriend over the holidays. So so now I just added a bunch of stress on top of stress with the wedding plan and all that stuff, but she hasn't been a bridezilla or anything like that, so we're keeping it simple and all that.
Y'all heard him, my man, officially off the streets. You heard him. He's off the streets officially.
Yeah.
Kristen signed that max contract.
It's been a long time coming, man, because I've been on these streets for a minute,
Yo, it's funny, Kris, because 2023 is the 10th anniversary of the Kings of Sport.
Right.
And, you and I have talked about this before. Like, we've talked on and off mic about kind of the, the ups and downs about various relationships. And so, to see you and your lovely now fiance get to this point, man. I'm real happy for y'all, and I'm definitely gonna have to make my way out there for the wedding, even though y'all might could have it over here in Virginia. I'm just saying.
We're doing
that John during WrestleMania weekend.
Yeah. My woman is not going for that shit, man. I even the tease of that,
like it did on the wrestling weekend.
yeah. She's like, N.W.A, please, man. That's like that ain't. But we are doing an East Coast thing also. So we're doing West Coast.
Okay, look, this man Kris learn from There's not a lot I want people to learn from Vince McMahon, but look like Kris learned one thing from Vincent Kennedy McMahon. Andrew, that's if you got a big enough event, you can split it into 2 nights. So Kris gonna have a West Coast wedding,
right,
and an East Coast wedding, because that's how momentous this is.
Yeah,
and I actually got an opportunity to meet Kris, like I said, at the post anniversary weekend, and his now fiance, lovely woman, very nice, very funny as well. So I'm very happy for you both, man, and I know it's gonna be a good time because I know both of y'all will make a great couple. So yeah, man, it's amazing. Look at this. Look, we starting off the show with some love. Look at that.
Starting off the new year right.
But see, bro, you go ahead, Kris. My bad.
No, I appreciate it. That's it.
But see, Nate, you mentioned Vince McMahon.
Talk to him.
Oh, brother, man. Like we got to start off the show talking about this man because he done made his way back to the WWE, folks. Vince McMahon is officially back. We're gonna start off the show talking about this. Stephanie McMahon resigned from her role as co-CEO of WWE and chairwoman of chairwoman of the company. This news came about after WWE's board of directors voted Vince McMahon to be the executive chairman of the board. Nick Khan remains the sole CEO, and Paul Triple H Levesque will continue to be the chief content officer. Nate, we're full screen, brother. Let's circle back to January 5th. All right. When you first saw the report from the Wall Street Journal, that report that came out that Vince was electing himself, George Barrios, and Michelle Wilson back to the board. And, the report noting that he was not going to support or approve any media rights sales unless he was involved as the executive chairman. Did you think that this turnaround would be that quick as it did, which was the following day? What's going on, Nate?
Nephew, we got to lead off this show talking about the Vince-erection. We got to do it, ladies and gentlemen, because I remember because it was the week before when there were kind of these hints and little things coming out that Vince was kind of going to be back in the game from a strictly business standpoint, right? And so I talked about this over at the main event on Place to Be Nation about this, and I said, I get it, because Vince probably feels like he's owed some money. He's owed a bag. And so he wants to keep that relationship maintained. But there's also something about the makeup of Vince McMahon that is always going to need that spotlight, always going to need that limelight, always going to need to, he's David Ruffin, Kris. He needs to be in the front of the stage. You know what I'm saying? Like, ain't nobody coming to see you, Stephanie. He needs that attention. And so when this stuff came out this week, Andrew, I was just like, I'm hearing little bits and pieces and seeing stuff on Twitter and seeing, like Brandon Thurston, a friend of the program, has been doing a great job kind of covering all this. And, just listening to various podcasts. And it's wild to me because I figured this dude was going to be back, but to see kind of this power struggle continue to play out, it's been very interesting. I don't know where it's going to end up. Like, there was one point this week we thought they were getting bought by the Saudis, and then so it's crazy. So I want to hear Kris's thoughts, because I know Kris has been looking into this, but also we want to hear your thoughts, the people that are watching right now. And there's a couple ways y'all can do that. Hit us up in the comments, man. But if you want to be like Vince McMahon, if you want to be like David Ruffin and get to the front of the stage, get to the front of the line, hit us with that super chat, because that's going to grab our attention and that will get you to the front of the line. But Kris, what did you make of all of this foolishness, for lack of a better word, over the last week or so with Vince McMahon?
All right. So the minute I heard this stuff, I mean, I don't think any of us are like
super surprised, right?
We kind of know how Vince McMahon operates. I immediately started writing an article for thank you, Steve, for that. But I immediately just started writing, thanks, Way, an article where I just start comparing Vince McMahon to a cult leader. Because he is a cult leader. He Vince McMahon, the language that he used when he came back, anytime I start hearing the language, the I alone can fix it language, you know, like the Donald Trumpian stuff where there's an issue. Sometimes in psychology, when I like, if you look into cults, sometimes it's a real issue. Sometimes it's not a real issue. Sometimes it's a made up issue in the cult leader's head. And they say that they are the only person that can fix whatever's going on. It's an ego-driven statement. It's a little bombastic. It's just very, very, you know, I need to be here to fix this. And this is the thing about these organizations. It doesn't matter what it is. Vince McMahon didn't create WWE. WWE was around before he became in charge. It will be around after he's gone. Like Walt Disney, is it needed to run Disney? You know, Ted Turner, is it needed to run Turner Network Television or Turner Broadcasting Station or any of that? You know, Papa John, is it needed to run Papa John's? like the show does go on with or without you. And I think that's kind of like a hard, because Vince McMahon is at a stage in his life and his career where what he's created can survive without him, and it will survive without him depending on who the buyer is. But and if he sells it to a network, there's no guarantee he'd stay on. I mean, I think the idea is Vince McMahon sells this and stay on WWE's board. We'll see. Let's see how that worked for Ted Turner. You know, he sold his stuff and was ousted. So, you know, the only way I could see him kind of staying on is if he sells it to the Saudis. And even then, you know, they might, you know, it's just, I think he's trying to guarantee power for himself, and there's just no way to do that. If you're either going to sell it or you're going to keep it, and if you sell it, then it belongs to the streets now.
Well, before we turn to Andrew, it's like it's the question of legacy at the heart of it, and legacy tied in with like ego, like you mentioned, Kris. And I'm gonna take us on a little bit of a tangent. You know, Kate from Montreal ain't here, but we still gonna take a trip to Tangent Town here, Kris. Like I've been playing this game on the Xbox here lately, just because it's a game that, unlike NBA 2K or Madden or something like that, you know, one of these shooting games, I don't have to be like super duper engaged with. I can just play it for like 30 minutes when I get home from work and decompress. Is this game called Crusader Kings. Crusader Kings 3 to be factual, Andrew. And basically the game is, it's like you are in charge of a country or a county somewhere around the world, and you're building up, like it's set in medieval times, and you're building up legacies, and you're building up alliances, and you try to gain land and power and all this. And one of the most important elements of the game is the air system, right? Like who takes over once you leave. Because in the medieval game, Andrew, it's been one time I had all these forces gathered and I got took out by like a flu because they didn't have medicine back then. And so all of that hard work was gone. And, you know, there's been other times where, you know, I died in war, you know, my king character. And so the question is, did I leave the kingdom in this sense in a good place to survive past me? And so the question is for Vince McMahon, did you leave this company in a place to survive past you? Which is a question that, not to be morbid, is probably close to the top of his mind, getting, being the age that he is. But the thing is, this company is at a point where I think, Andrew, we saw last year, right, when all the Vince stuff came out, there's a good portion of the company and the fans that are like, yo, we appreciate what you did, man, but we passed all that. We don't want to go back to all that, And so, for you, Andrew, somebody that's been kind of covering this story this week, what do you think is the end game? What Kris talked about, various, people that could buy the company and whatnot, but how do you see this kind of turning out?
You might know what's crazy is that it's kind of funny what Kris was talking about, how when they talked about that point about people saying that the wheel keeps going and things keep spinning, and I always say that from a lot of people that worked for Vince, like in these different podcasts, like your Bruce Pritchards or people of the soul, but they always talk about how it's always the wheel keeps moving or the ball keeps spinning or whatever. Like whenever a talent leaves the company and there's nobody within WWE that needs to be there in order for the company to continue going. And it's kind of funny that was always sort of placed upon talent, but like when you look at it present day, it's sort of placed on Vince now because they don't need him. They've shown that since July 2022 up until this point that they didn't need him to function, and they've been doing well, at least from what I've seen on the creative standpoint and in the numbers. I mean, that WWE always does fine numbers wise, but I'm talking about like as far as the financials and all that stuff goes, as far as the stuff they report on their quarterly calls and whatnot. But I think it's a thing of like they don't really need Vince around, but I think Vince it's a power thing for him. I think that he likes being, I think that he loves being in control. He loves feeling like he's in control of the situation. In all honesty, when I'm looking back at the allegations that are against him and that that resurfaced last summer, I think Vince's mindset could be one of like he feels that maybe he probably shouldn't have stepped down because I mean, but just looking at it now and even like some of the press releases and stuff, like he doesn't address anything, and I don't think that he ever will address anything. I think that he's just gonna let it go by the wayside, and I think that probably could be his mindset to just coast through it and like maybe feeling like he should have never even stepped down in the first place from this whole thing, because I feel like he would have carried it the exact same way that he's carrying it now by just ignoring it, and I think that's probably going to be his MO in this whole thing going forward. So like it's going to be real interesting to see how everything turns out, because I can't get myself to believe that Vince is just coming back to be on the business side of things. I think this is going to be a thing where he like tries to gradually make his back onto head of creative. Like I know PW Insider, they had a report out that there was a talent meeting at SmackDown recently at Green Bay that Triple H was the Triple H led, and he's the chief content officer, and he essentially told people like Vince is back for the business side of things, to lead the negotiations of a possible sale if that is to happen, and he is not going to affect the creative process going forward. And everything we got going on, basically telling everybody we straight. You know what I'm saying? We got everything in control here, everything good. That's some bull. I do not believe for 1 second, bro, that this man is not going to try to get his way back into creative. But he's control freak. He's a control freak. That's what he like. He likes the feeling of being in control and running the ship. I just can't see in a world where you like. Let's even break it down simple as this, right? You do something for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, right? And you just got to stop. And it's just all over. It ain't no way that whatever it is just goes away that quickly. Right. And you looking at his situation, I just can't see a world where he's like, okay, I'm just cool with just being on the business side of things. Like I guarantee in some way, somehow this year, he will be back in the creative role, whether it's leading it or he will be assisting Triple H very heavily. Like and things that are going on. So you go, Kris.
My prediction is kind of in line with yours, but I'm gonna veer off a little bit. Vince McMahon's time has come and gone. He probably hasn't realized it yet, but it's done, dude. You are not gonna just waltz back. There's already been one class action lawsuit filed against him. there's gonna be more. I think that this is just kind of like a small nip in the straight jacket material before it just rips off completely. I think that that Vince in June and July, I said that Vince McMahon did the most honorable thing that a dishonorable man can do. And now he's doing the most dishonorable thing that a dishonorable man could do. And I think before he left for that 5 months, it was, people were trying to let him go with whatever dignity he had left intact. I just do not see him just bullying his way back to the top of the mountain without a lot. There will be blood. To quote Daniel Day-Lewis movie. You are not just gonna get back over there and bloodshed not happen. That's my opinion.
Yeah, it's when I'm thinking about like the coming months and stuff like that. It's so crazy how much has happened just over the span of what we'll be like 15, 14 days in, and like all this stuff has already happened, and like specifically pertaining to this. Like Kris said, I just can't see where this dude just comes in and he's just okay with just being on the business side. I honestly, like, without ever hearing him say this or reading him saying this, I think a part of it bothers him that the company was okay and he was not there. Like I genuinely believe that he was like a part of him wishes like they would have failed if he was not there.
That is 100% true. He was he left, and it's like the girlfriend that you break up with and she's just fine without you. You're expecting her life to fall apart and stuff. And I think that's Vince McMahon is having issues with this reality. I think that to be 100% honest with you, I think that Stephanie and Triple H could have probably taken over this company back in 2009, 2010, and it would have ran smoothly. I mean, Vince McMahon
might have ran better.
Yeah, might have. Vince McMahon has been making a lot of questionable decisions for a long time. Even entertaining coming back is a questionable thought in my head, man, because if you don't, he doesn't need that static, that smoke. I mean, to me it's not worth it,
But I'm about to say, like, and then on top of that, by him doing all this and causing all this ruckus, you are also putting that sort of worry in the minds of your on-screen talent, who have been perfectly, I'm assuming, fine without you being there, and things are more free-flowing, from what it seems like. And then now the thought in the back of their minds, like, even though they had that talent meeting that, Peter Musada reported about, about Triple H clearing it up. But there is no way that most of those people aren't thinking, like, somewhere in the back of their minds, like, there's a chance, like, he might be back. You know what I'm saying? And that causes a worry for some people. So, like, by him doing this, you interrupting so many different departments that have been used to you not being there. And then on top of that, you got this black cloud over you with all these different allegations that continue to surface. And like, like I said earlier, I just don't think that he'll ever get to a point where he'll address it or feel like he needs to. I genuinely feel like he feels he's above any of that, of like even bringing attention to it, like himself bringing attention to it. Like, I think that maybe it will continue to happen. And I think that even if that is the case, he's still not going to say nothing. And I just think that he feels internally that he doesn't have to go to a level where he would have to address such things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because in order to go to that level, you would have to feel some type of responsibility, some type of contrition, right? And that's not in Vince McMahon's DNA. That's not in the genetic Jack Hammer's genes, Andrew Thompson. That ain't what that man is all about. It's something that you touched on a little bit ago. Like, what do you do if you spent all these years, all these decades of your life doing one thing. And now you can't do it anymore for whatever reason, right? Like we see it all the time in sports. You know, athletes keep coming back. Like Tom Brady threw away a perfectly good marriage to come back and just scrape into the playoffs, right? You know what I'm saying? Like if that's all you know, that's all you know. And it's like, Vince, there had to be a point. And I think Kris brought up an excellent point. Like, what's the succession plan, right? What's the legacy plan? And if you trust these kids who are now grown-ass adults in Hunter and Steph, and you should be trying to make the transition as smooth as possible versus trying to cling on to any last vestige of power that you have.
Yeah, man. You got anything else to add, Kris?
I do. Yeah, I think
Kris got more.
Well, I think that in a perfect world, Vince would just take
go
his
away.
L and go about his business. But
look at this comment, Kris.
What? Vince McMahon and Dana.
Yeah.
I will, because Dana White is a piece of shit. Also, he's not the exact same kind of piece of shit that Vince McMahon is.
Variation on shit.
There's if Dana White was a black man,
he'd be out of here. He'd be out of here.
He wouldn't even been in that spot in the first place if he was a black man.
The court of public opinion would have judged him much harsher, because I was on another show talking about this a couple weeks ago. But from a legal standpoint, Dana, that's easy to kind of explain, because in California, I don't know how it is where he was at in Mexico, but in California, if your woman smacks you and you smack her back and the police come, they're going to arrest both of you. However, this guy has gone on record, him and Vince McMahon, it's bad to hit women, especially Dana White. He's posted about this plenty of times. Anytime a fighter has gotten caught hitting a woman, he's been really harsh against it. And now you are the boss of a company and you're hitting a woman. And that's the problem with Vince McMahon too, is Vince McMahon, they've suspended and fired people for less than what Vince McMahon has been accused of. And you're basically Lord and God over a company where it's okay for you to be involved in these scenarios where you're accused of sexual assault, but your wrestlers got to be fired, and you scapegoat people too. Like where's Johnny Ace at the moment, right? It's like this is what Vince McMahon and Dana White do. To Dana White's credit, he did give an apology, and it wasn't like one of those BS apologies, but at the same time, there still needs to be some atonement for that, right? For me personally, I need to feel like this guy is having professional consequences for smacking his woman. And it doesn't seem like he's got any. Yeah.
You want to know what I think he said in one of the things? I think he said that his punishment was that he is going to be known as the person who puts his hands on the woman. That's what I said. Like that was like one of the. He tried to like smooth cop out his way out of it. Like, people they label me. Like, that ain't no punishment.
Eazy-E wrote a song where he said, "Reach over like a pimp and smack the," So I mean, that's not necessarily the badge of dishonor that it should be.
I feel like that was one of those things where it was like, he's like trying to get people feel bad for him in a way where it was hey man, people they always gonna look at me as the person.
Right.
He's not a sympathetic figure.
It'd be like if I stole $500 from Chris Andrew and was like, you know what, my punishment should be that I have to remember that I stole $500 from my brother.
But that's what these people do though, Dad. Like with Vince McMahon, his whole career has been painting himself, even though he's the biggest bully on the planet, he paints himself always in that victim role. He did that with Ted Turner and WCW. He did that when AEW, with the government, when AEW like started like showing some signs of strength against WWE. It's just what they do. It's like, oh, I'm the victim here. That's what all these that's what cult leaders do. You know, it just is what it is. It's like, oh, I'm the victim, you know. And then you always have these minions underneath you that will defend you no matter what. You know, like sometimes I listen to the wrestlers and talent and people who've worked in Vince McMahon's orbit, and the way they just Vince, boy. Yeah, they defend it. Like some of those defenses just don't even make any sense. You know, it's like you're like when Chris Jericho was defending Vince when Vince was caught with all his all those women and stuff. And Jericho's like, well, no, she willingly agreed to do it, so it's 2 adults. It's like you sound like a dumbass, dude, because that's not what the law is. Not that the law is not you can be the boss of a company and just have sex with employees all willy-nilly. You know, there's levels to this stuff, you know.
But you might know it was crazy. Like I think it's in that I forgot what article it was. I want to say it was the Wall Street Journal article when they had caught up with what's that, Greg Valentine, and he had I know he said this, I think he said this in like prior media appearances, but he had said something. I think it was about the Rita Chatterton allegations, and he was just like he was saying something like he didn't believe her when she initially told him about the situation because he didn't think that Vince was attracted to her to believe that something like that could happen. And I was like, he openly said this, and I haven't read in the article like that he said similar stuff like that in the past. And like just to hear like some of these old wrestlers, like they I mean, it's not even old. I don't want to say old, but like some of these wrestlers that have been under the Vince McMahon era for so long, they have like this inner defense mechanism. Like they feel like they have to go to bat for this dude because he took care of me at one point in my life. So he just did
like 20 years ago, this dude took 30 years ago, this dude took care of me.
He ain't brought your ass back since. And
like these horrible stereotypes. Rape or rapey behavior isn't about being attractive to somebody or anything like that. It's about having sexual dominion over somebody, sexual power over somebody. Like in a date rape situation, the guy would get mad at the woman because she is turning him down or whatever. So it's him trying to show her, hey, I'm the one in control of this situation.
Right.
And Vince McMahon, the way he does things, it's just about him having the power to do it. It's like, okay, let me see if I can make this guy, if I pay this guy enough money, can I get him to kiss somebody's ass on TV?
I want to touch on that real quick, Chris, because the title of this episode is Moné, Power, Respect. And Vince definitely has money and he has had power in varying degrees, but there is no respect, right? Even from somebody like a Greg Valentine or some of these old wrestlers that you hear talk about him, Andrew, it's less, oh, I respect that dude. I love that dude. And it's more like, yeah, that dude gave me money. That dude gave me
and maybe he'll give me some more if I defend him.
Maybe he'll give me some more if I keep saying nice things.
Yeah, it's exactly. Go ahead.
What I'm thinking about is like when Vince, I had just had this thought in my head, but like he, you go ahead, Chris. I'm gonna let it come back to me. I had just had it in my head, but it just slipped. But I was about to say, but you go ahead.
It's these. What happens is these wrestlers. Some of them are attracted to the accoutrements, right? The stuff that Vince McMahon gives them, the money, the lifestyle that they get being associated with WWE. Some of it is just simply, I've been wanting to wrestle in WWE since I was a kid. And now that I'm here, I appreciate it. I'm just grateful for the opportunity. They look at their relationship with Vince McMahon, and this is a horrible thing that any employee can do, is you look at your relationship as your boss doing you a favor. That's not the case. This is a symbiotic relationship.
Yes, a mutual thing, brother. You helping me, I'm helping you.
Yeah, you are providing. You are getting paid to provide a service that you are providing, right? So all this, and I know Vince McMahon is for the longest time he was the only game in town, and there's respect. Maybe Vince McMahon paid some money to get you out of a sexual crime or something, I don't know what it is, but everybody's got a different story. You can like the fact that Vince McMahon helped you in a time of need and provided you with a job and all that stuff, and you were able to pay your bills, and you can like the stuff Vince McMahon does for Make-A-Wish and stand up for the bullying stuff and all that stuff, Connor's Cure. All that stuff is good stuff, and it should be lauded, and it's commendable. But you also have to look at the flip side of that coin and look at the bad stuff he does as well. It's not a zero-sum game. This guy, his company does some good stuff, but they've also historically have done some bad and questionable things. Your cognitive dissonance shouldn't be so where you just, because Vince did this for me and did that for me and did that for me, I have to defend him no matter what. That is blind loyalty, because the first chance Vince McMahon gets to pass the buck and blame the wrestler for some stuff, he will do it. The minute that he found out, like I remember when Chris Benoit died, and there was this tribute show about him, and they didn't know what the story was, what Benoit was, a tribute show, and everybody's, I love Benoit, and Benoit was such a good guy. Even Triple H told a very disgusting bullying story about Benoit during that whole time, but that's neither here nor there. But everybody is loving on Benoit. And then after they find out what Benoit did, Vince McMahon hits the talk show circuit. What Benoit's a monster, and that's not something we stand for in WWE and blah, blah, blah. Even though, I think the story Triple H told was Benoit, he made some guy do a bunch of push-ups or burpees because he disrespected Shawn Michaels, and that's a good story to remember him by, like bullying someone, it's like,
hey, it was a different time, Chris.
Yeah,
I would have cooked his ass too, to be honest with you. I ain't gonna lie. Like, if you do one of them talk shows, you're not supposed to make him out to be like this good person. I get what you're saying.
You shouldn't have done that in the first place. You should have let the story breathe and then came out with something. Your knee-jerk reaction was to defend this guy and to call him all kinds of good shit
before you heard the whole story.
And then you hear he murdered his wife and kid, and now you have to walk it back. You should be walking it back, but you should have never walked it in the first fucking place.
I mean, I do agree with you, but I think that's very easy for us to say, looking back at it in hindsight. I think in those type of situations, just with us speaking about it now, I just think it's a situation where that's very easy for us to say, what we would have did if we was in that position, looking back at it, because we had the benefit of hindsight. You know what I'm saying? But I do get what you're saying, to the extent of you definitely should have maybe held off a little bit on the tribute show. But again, I also think that that's a situation of it's very easy to look at a situation that happened so many years ago and be like, well, if that was me, I would have did this and I would have made sure that it would happen this way. But that's kind of, just hear me out. Look what I'm saying. And that's kind of something we touched on, I think a couple months ago in the podcast when we were talking about just in general, how people would say, well, you know, if this was me, I would have did this in that situation. And, you know, if that was me in this situation, or if that was me in this fight, I would have did this and I would have did that. You don't know what you would have did in that situation because you were not in that situation. It's like, it's easy. It's really easy to say those things of what you would do just based off how you know yourself. But when you in that situation, but that's like
one thing I would have done. The one thing I would have done.
Hear me out though, bro. Like just in this like just small situation. We not even off the N.W.A stuff real quick. Like just in a situation, right? Let's say somebody walk up to you, right, and they just smack shit out you, right? And like you like, okay. Let's say you're looking at it from a you. Let me rephrase that. Let's say you hear somebody else say that somebody walked up to him and smack him, right? You would have been like, let's say you like, oh, well, you know, if that was me, you know, I would have did this and I'd have did that. You know what I'm saying? But like, if that actually happens to you, you don't know how you're gonna react in that situation. You could think you know how you react, but until you actually in that and you in that moment and you in that position, you don't know. And I do get what you're saying to this, like again, to the extent of they definitely should have held off on that. But like, I also think that when you talking about stuff like that, we have the benefit of hindsight, bro. Like we have that benefit to be like, we would have did this a little bit different. But if we were in that exact situation in that moment, you just don't know how you would have reacted. And it's very easy to say that you would know how you would have reacted in that situation.
Well, this is the thing. Is the one thing that I would have done is I would have let the story breathe out, because I do think wrestlers are not a group of people that you can just I hate to say it, you just can't assume the best out of the situation when it involves something like that, and you don't even know the cause of death yet. You know, you're just going with what you're hearing, and then you're telling everybody to post tributes. And even William Regal had enough wherewithal to be like, yeah, I don't know about this. You know what I'm saying? Did his tribute stuff. So, I mean, I do think that when you are a company of that size, you have to tread lightly when it comes to things like that. But the whole point of the story wasn't even to talk about, to relitigate the N.W.A situation. It's basically to say how quick he is to kind of, and the company is to kind of, the company does not have your back the way that the individuals have the company's back, you know?
No.
Because even if he would have came out and if they would like the investigation wasn't even complete when he was saying the bad stuff about N.W.A, you know? It was like that was just like, oh, it was just the mode you jump into right when you hear what happened, you know? And it's just like, and that was one thing that I did like about the law in those days. It was like when the story broke, it wasn't just, oh, let's praise N.W.A or let's crap on N.W.A. Let's get the details of the story. And then when the story came out, it was like, okay, we can't praise this guy because what happened was horrible. And, you know, just kind of talk about it and then move on from it. You know, it's just the whole, the way that WWE, it's a one-way relationship when it comes to talent and them most of the time, because the first chance they get to throw you under the bus that is what they're going to do.
I mean, we are going to talk, Andrew, here in a little bit about somebody that they did kind of throw under the bus.
Yeah, but like just to finish up on the Vince stuff, it's just the power play thing. Like even you look at something as simple as like him saying, or the report that he wasn't willing to, you know, be supportive or agree to any media rights sales if he wasn't involved directly in the process of a possible sale happening place. That's a power play thing that he was just looking to corner the company in a way to getting his way back in. He got his way back. So we definitely going to see how that plays out over the coming months. I definitely think that this is just the beginning and the tip of the iceberg in this story that centers around Vince McMahon. But fellas,
Vince said to any prospective buyers, the price of the brick is going up. Yesterday's price is not today's price.
I'm gonna give Vince McMahon a warning. These companies will agree to whatever terms that you have. there's always an out clause to get rid of your ass, man. If you were smart, sell to the Saudis, because that's really the only way that you can keep your leverage. If you sell it to NBC, Fox, whoever, once they get tired of you, they will find a way to get rid of you. Once you don't, what's this? Dana White is going through this same thing. I don't think Dana White is lasting in UFC. I think he's about to.
They're gonna try to get him out the paint.
Go the way of the dodo, and I think that's just it does. They can promise you whatever they want to promise you. When it's time, Bob Johnson, when he sold BET, Bob Johnson was ahead at BET for the longest time. Where the hell is Bob Johnson at now?
So moving on from that man Vince McMahon and his all the BS he got going on and the foolishness as Nate described at the top of the show. We're gonna move on to somebody that made a very big play earlier this month. Formerly known as Sasha Banks, now known as Mercedes Moné. Or Moné. I think that's the proper way to say it, Mercedes Moné. Or Moné, however you want to call it. Very cool name, I think. But she made her debut for New Japan Pro Wrestling at Wrestle Kingdom 17. She took out the IWGP Women's Champion Kairi to set up their match at Battle of the Valley on February 18th. Just real quick on this, I just want to say this. Kairi and Tom Nakano, they was having a banger at Wrestle Kingdom. I think it was some bullshit that they only got 5 minutes. I was not a fan of that at all, because I feel like they was about to smoke it and they just started turning up. But either way, I think they was doing something real good. And then of course we got the big moment with Mercedes coming out. Brother Nate, let's start with you, man. February 18th, Battle in the Valley, Mercedes versus Kairi was at the time the only match announced for the show. They sold it out. What did you think of her NJPW debut? What did you think about the fact that her and Kairi sold out the San Jose Civic Center with being the only match announced? And what do you think the right play is to put the title on Mercedes? And then factoring in that Kairi got the belt in November. Do you think that's just like the obvious and right move to go, putting the title on her?
Let me tell you something, nephew. I got to go full screen on this one, brother, because this is, if not for the foolishness, the aforementioned foolishness, this would be the biggest story of the year so far in terms of Mercedes making this jump to New Japan and Stardom. I think that I'm very happy for her, man. Like, I feel like there is something. It's always interesting to see these folks whenever they leave long-term employment with any company, particularly when we're talking about long-term employment with the WWE, to see where she goes and what opportunities she gets and what opportunities may open up, But I think this was a big deal. Like, I do wish they would have given that match a little bit more time to cook before they brought her out, before, all that went down. But I think this is a big deal. And I think that she is the person who can, kind of generate interest. Like, if you're, New Japan and you're like, who can we get to generate interest, generate buzz in our
States,
product?
More in the States, yeah.
In the States, Mercedes Moné, either way, she the one. You know what I'm saying? She is the one, because like we followed her story all last year, Andrew. The story of her and also Trinity, Naomi, and the question was, where was she going to land? And even this past week, you had folks like, is she going to be a mystery partner on AEW? Like, hold on, pump the brakes. She got a plan, and so. I'm just happy for her, Andrew. Like, I think we'll be able to kind of fully digest and break down what this means for New Japan and Stardom after we get, the matches. But I think just my initial impression of it is it's a good move for her. It's a great move for the Japanese companies. And yeah, I whatever she does, I'm like the crowd. You remember Malcolm X, Denzel Washington? That one scene where they out there, in front of the hospital and the police want them to move and disperse, and Malcolm holds up the hand.
Yeah, and then they just
tells him to go that way.
Yeah.
That's how I am with Mercedes, man. Whatever she wants to do, I'm here for it. Whether she wants to, wrestle in Japan or eventually do some AEW work, or keep doing this movie thing and keep working with Disney and Star Wars and all that, man. Like, I'm here for it because again, Andrew, the way they did her and Naomi when they didn't want to agree to whatever it was that they wanted them to agree to storyline wise, I thought they were real disrespectful to both of them, and I was so happy that they stuck together through that whole thing. And now, it's Mercedes time.
It's on the
I'm
popping
excited
now.
to see what she does.
Hey, brother Kris, I wanted to kick this over to you, man. Like, I know this, Nate had mentioned it this past Wednesday at AEW Dynamite. There was a lot of talk about, the idea or the possibility about Mercedes showing up in AEW. Of course, they announced the mystery partner was going to be Toni Storm, I believe, a week or so ahead. And there was even a video that had surfaced online after the match was over, the Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter versus Toni and Saraya match. The lights had went out, and everybody got up on their feet. And then it was just a Rampage commercial, and then everybody was like, "Oh!" But Kris, do you think that there was anything that AEW could have done to sort of suppress the speculation that she was coming in? And also, what do you think that it says about the star power of Mercedes that people was just like so amped up and ready to see her come in? And also, what did you think about the the general her debut and her and Kyrie selling out the San Jose Civic Center for February 18th?
Yeah, I think that's cool. I'm still, I'm of the let it breathe camp. I think that
let it play out, Kris.
The debut was okay. I didn't think it was great, but it was good because it caused a lot of buzz. As far as AEW and Tony Khan's bullshit, with Britt Baker saying
herself
she's
the boss
and all that nonsense, and just and Tony Khan sometimes does this. Sometimes it's a good surprise, like CM Punk is coming back, and then sometimes it's a who cares about this surprise? Like when the surprise was like the FTW belt is coming back, like that ain't no goddamn surprise. What the hell? Like nobody cares about that. And this is
hey Kris,
you not a hooker, Kris?
I mean,
Kris, I'm gonna let you finish, but I just wanted to put out a disclaimer because longtime listeners here on Post Wrestling may know I already had a little bit of a dust up with Taz over one of these damn podcasts in the past. So the words of Kris besmirching the FTW title, they are Chris's and Chris's alone. I ain't got no problem with you, Taz.
I was a fan of the FTW title in 1998. That was where it's placed. To bring that back like it's a surprise, and that's what Tony Khan sometimes does. Tony Khan, at the end of the day, he's a wrestling promoter, and sometimes he's going to do stuff like that, like this. Sometimes he's going to play the audience, and in my opinion, that doesn't serve any goodwill, but it is what it is. As far as Mercedes goes, I do think she'll be an asset because the ratings were up, like, what was it, 12%, at the mere suggestion that she was gonna be there. The women's match, the ratings were higher. Also, though, you do have to take into consideration the week before, Kevin McCarthy was losing like 700 million times in a row, and my television didn't leave the speaker. It was just so entertaining to watch him lose that many times. So I was watching that last week, and I think a lot of the AEW viewing audience was watching that. So I have contributed the ratings to Mercedes, and I have contributed just to what was on TV the week before, man. So I think wherever she lands, she will be fine. She will be an asset to AEW if she joins AEW. I do think that she can write her ticket at the moment. I think wherever she goes, she's going to be able to get however much money she wants, and the main thing is she going to get the respect that she wants. I think it was Kate from Montreal who said this a while ago. But we do kind of put a lot of stock on money, and that is important. Especially like for me at the age I'm at and the stage of life I'm at. Money is important, but what's also important is respect.
That WrestleMania wedding.
Yes. So for anybody that tuned in late, I saw Ray Williams in the comments earlier asking why everybody was congratulating the professors, because the brother announced that he's about to jump that broom. So man, Kris is off the market.
SoFi Stadium, April 2nd. They gonna bring my name out. But on the Mercedes front, like I think what Kris said, she'll be able to write her own ticket 100%. I definitely think that we're going to see her in Stardom at some point. I think that's 100% happening. I think we'll probably see that at probably maybe April. Like I know they got their All-Star Grand Queendom show, I think it's called, in April, and I wouldn't mind seeing her there. I know Julie is the current World of Stardom champion. She just had a banger in December with Siri, so I wouldn't be surprised if if they had some type of conversation, or maybe she run it back with Kyrie after the Battle in the Valley match. But yeah, man, with Mercedes, I as far as AEW goes, I don't know this at all, but I'm just purely guessing. But I maybe she might not want to be like locked down to an exclusive deal, like she. I mean, not, but maybe she just got, she just got out of one.
At least not right now.
You know what I'm saying? Like just immediately getting out of a contract where you was just like, I'm really like tired of being here, to jump into another contract. Maybe it's not, maybe it's not attractive. And I'm sure that Tony Khan, having a talent like Mercedes, he would want her to be under a exclusive deal. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So like, I can definitely see that situation. But I think as far as like what she gonna do now, man, I think that she gonna be probably a key factor in Stardom as probably an attraction match. And then as far as New Japan, I think that she's going to be a big piece of building up that IWGP Women's Championship. I know that the president, Takami Obari, he has said that New Japan Strong is going to get revamped, and it's going to be like rebuilt or something along those lines. And I think that's going to be something where they try to make it, I mean, it's already a brand, but like more of a legitimate thing. Like they doing like more live shows, and like they trying to get bigger crowds and run bigger venues. And I think that she is going to be a big part of that. Like I even with Jay White, he has the loser leaves match with Hikuleo, loser leaves Japan match with Hikuleo. If Jay White stays with New Japan, I can see him losing that match and being a big part of that New Japan Strong revamped version of the brand, and sort of whoever's the like maybe they'll sort of do something else with the Strong Never Openweight Championship or something along those lines. And like I could definitely see like him and maybe a Mercedes being like the, you know what I'm saying, like the, along with the respective champions being like the front people as far as that New Japan Strong brand as it gets revamped, or like as he said, it's going to be rebuilt. So that's all speculation for now. But I think that the debut, I think for a lot of people, like I saw a lot of criticism about it and a lot of praise about it as well. Like looking back at it, like I don't think maybe it was as far, because I mean, to me, like honestly, I think I was just like amped to see her there.
Right.
Yeah.
I was amped to see her in the New Japan space. Like I was amped to see that. But like I know a lot of people was like the move and stuff like that. Like honestly, but when I'm looking at the move, I don't even think that was her fault. I think it was just a timing thing with Kyrie. Like I don't think Kyrie knew exactly what that was. Like because I saw a clip of her doing that exact same move when she was training in Mexico, and I even had seen Tony Deppen post a clip of him doing that move back before, like when he was just like messing around like trampolines and stuff like that. And like what was supposed to happen, she was supposed to turn her around. Kyrie was supposed to drop on her feet and then drop down for the DDT, but she went straight down for the DDT. And I think that was just a miscommunication issue. And like, I mean, as far as like the people talking about like the crowd reaction, like, I mean, I just looked at it like this. I just thought like maybe a great deal of that fan base, or maybe a good portion of those people, they didn't know who she was, but they obviously maybe she, she's being presented as a big deal. She's somebody, you know what I'm saying? That's why they, you know what I'm saying?
I don't think that crowd reaction mattered. I think
you good, Kris. Not well. Hold on, real quick. Yeah. That's what I was saying. Like I think a lot of people was trying to like downplay her debut by saying to the crowd. I mean, she ain't no Okada or no, or established New Japan talent. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
New Japan, they barely got women's matches taking place in the company. So like, you know what I'm saying? Unless you're paying attention to the Stardom product, or you paying attention to a Tokyo Joshi Pro, or you paying attention to, any of these other women's wrestling only promotions that's happening in Japan, really wouldn't know who she is. I mean, but WWE is a big ass company, so I mean, you're pretty sure you know who she is. But like, I really wasn't factoring in too much of the crowd reaction. I saw most of the criticism coming from the move part of it, but like, honestly, for me, I was just amped to see her like in the.
And honestly, Andrew, to your point earlier about New Japan's aspirations for Western expansion, the crowd in the building ain't really who that debut was for anyway.
Right? Yeah, that's
it was for the people watching.
Yeah, the most important. So I've been getting all kinds of marriage and wedding advice and stuff for the last couple weeks or so. So what is more important when it comes to a wrestling debut is not the wedding day. What's important is the marriage, right? Is how is the run gonna go? You can
talk to him, Chris. Talk to him, Chris.
The debut is just one thing. I mean, like, look at how Ric Flair debuted in WWF when he first debuted there. It was like on that old primetime wrestling show in the crowd doing some dorky crap, And if you look at like Bret Hart's WCW debut, that wasn't good either. The debuts are not going to always be great. What matters is the career trajectory they're on once they're in the company. So I thought it wasn't a horrible wrestling debut. It wasn't like bad. It wasn't like, oh my God, let me call everybody up.
Chris, read that comment, bro. Read that comment right there. The February 18th.
Oh, the February. I can't see it. Let me see.
He said the February 18th sellout speaks loudly on Mercedes' popularity.
Yep.
Oh yeah, exactly. The fact that it did that. I mean, I think the debut, was it perfect? No, but did it do the basic gist of what it was supposed to do? Yeah, I think it did. And now we just have to see how the rest of it goes. If like every match she has doesn't improve from the original debut, then throw out the criticisms, and I'll be the first one to say, okay, this was a bust, but it wasn't a bust yet. So
I had just saw Twan comment. Can you pull that back up, Nate, real quick? Twan Mac, if you could find that. I think you had just pulled it up, or maybe it probably was a little bit far up. Okay. Yeah, he said it was he said something about I remember what he said, but he was like the reaction that she got when she did the first little reveal, and she got a nice little reaction, and that's what I said. Like I mean, like just the way that you saw some people talking about, you'd have thought it was like, yeah, there you go. He was like, and she did get a pop when they showed her face on the Tron. Like just the way some people saw, you'd have thought it was like, boy, it was like quiet as hell in that jump, but she came out like But when they first did the review, you heard the little, like everybody was like, so they know, like people knew who she was. They were
like, yo, that's the chick from the Mandalorian.
But like again, I think Chris got a very valid point of I think that we'll see how this whole thing turns out, and I think that it's going to go quite well. Like I think that now all that's left to do is you got the match on February 18th. The jump sold out a whole month before it's set to take place. And then all you gotta do is go out there and have a banger. You got a banger, and then you do whatever the next thing is, whether that's Stardom or whatever is next. I think all you gotta do is keep delivering. And then, like, I know she just got casted for that movie role, or they just announced her for that movie role or something like that.
Yeah, the one with Don Johnson and
the one with
some other cats. Yeah,
Don Johnson still out here making movies.
Yeah,
Sonny Crockett out here getting the bag.
So yeah, that one. So I mean. I don't think that anybody in this world, if you're anybody, period, you are, you're not allowed to be criticized or critiqued. you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think I don't think that's fair. That's a good mindset to have in terms of like, oh, you shouldn't critique this person, or this person should be exempt from being critiqued or criticized. That's not right. I mean, especially if you're in the public eye. You are going to be critiqued whether you like it or not. There are going to be people who don't like you. There are going to be people who like you, people who can't stand you, people who don't love you until the end of this lifetime. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's just a matter of like exactly what Kris said. We just want to see how it turn out.
Yeah, I think people need to center their criticism, so to speak. It's okay. I mean, critique if you want. If that's what we all do. That's what we do on this show. But I don't think it's realistic to just expect her to just be like the debut
this like
to just
super monster reaction, like the crowd be jumping over the rail.
Right, yeah. Like a lot of times, like even with like Chris Jericho's WWF debut, that was set up like perfectly in a situation for him to succeed. Some people criticize that debut because they say The Rock, owned him on the microphone. But I think for me, it was like this guy is on Raw and he is interacting with a main eventer. Mm-hmm. So it's that to me that was a big deal in and of itself. So I think that with the criticisms are fine. It's just I think all I ask is that it's a fair criticism, not just, oh, she sucks, she's not worth the money, and some of this other nonsense I've seen online.
People
that brings me to my point, Kris, because I think there's three things. Man. They're showing their true colors, Andrew. So three things. Number one, it's her first damn day on the job, man.
Yeah.
Let it play out, people. Number two, Kris, I do think that there are folks who came in with baggage when it comes to Mercedes.
Some people don't like her, bro. Some people
saw it when she left, right? Like the way people talked about her. And I think that there's going to be a contingent of the audience that is always going to be looking for this. Like they preying on her downfall, Andrew. Oh, yeah. There's going to be a percentage of the audience that's always like that.
But I say, you continue your point. I ain't mean to cut you, but I just want to add in, like, I'm not talking about like her as a. I mean, you gonna like her who you don't like as a rap. I'm talking about there are people like who legitimately like they don't like her, bro. Like, I mean, personally, But you go ahead and name my bad.
And then the third thing I was gonna say was in terms of like the long term. The long term prediction or prognostication for Mercedes. I think that she is already going to pay dividends for New Japan, for Stardom, and then it's a matter of what's next. And I think it's got to be AEW, because I'm looking around and Billy Corgan can't afford it because he's spending all this money on this great champion he's got named Tyrus. So Billy can't afford it. Impact Wrestling, I love Impact Wrestling maybe more than anybody in this space. I've been down with Impact Wrestling since day one almost.
That's a fact.
She ain't going to Impact Wrestling. So like AEW is the only logical landing spot. To me, it's just a matter of when and not if.
Yeah, especially if she doesn't go back to WWE. And I think a lot of the reason why people hate Mercedes is because she can walk out on WWE and still have other wrestling companies want to hire her. And how many wrestlers can you say have that kind of cachet behind them? Not that many. Like so that like just walking off on an episode of Raw on the day that it's shooting. There's not too many talents that can be confident they would get hired by the rival company if they did that stuff. They'd be like, I don't know if we could trust this person or not. With Sasha Banks, Mayor Mercedes, they don't care if they could trust her or not. It's like
just sign the contract.
If she's available, if she's available, she's getting signed by someone. If all the tea leaves fall in the right place and the money is what it's supposed to be, and the chemistry is what it's supposed to be, she's getting hired somewhere else. And wrestlers need to stop hating on that. Stop that crap, because don't be mad at her because she's in this position that she worked hard to be in.
Yeah, I saw Twan Mac just pulled up. He said, "Put that back up, Nate." He was like, "Dirty Dutch Mantel." Yeah, Dutch Mantel. He did say interview. He was like, "This what Dutch Mantel said." I saw this headline. He was like, he was in WWE with Mercedes for 5 years, and she never said hello to him. Like, okay,
yeah,
okay, like that's like.
I love Dirty Dutch. I've met him a couple times. He's got his issues. I'm talking about just from personal interactions. I'm not talking about all the crap that I've seen him post and stuff like that. But I like him all right. But this saying hi to me crap.
What is your purpose? You know what I'm saying?
That's an old wrestling trope. It's like
right.
If
you gotta shake hands with everybody in the locker room.
I get you.
Yeah, that's not. Look, but it's still stupid though. Not everybody is with that, you know. Like if you see the person there, you can shake hands with them. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I've been working at my job for 7 years, and not all the newbies come up to me and say hi. I sometimes walk up to them and it's like,
Kris be up in HR, man. You know that young motherfucker. He say what's up to me. You know you. You may take care of that.
How many young professors has Kris stomped under his boot?
The only thing I care about at my job,
Kris out here, the Terry Bollea of Southern California education.
No, come on, man.
You're never gonna get over in this college, brother.
I care about the checks clearing at the end of the month.
This new kid in the agriculture department don't work for me, brother.
Yeah, say hi, don't say hi. I don't care. But this is a mindset that wrestlers have kind of created for themselves. They have told themselves that if a young wrestler does not shake your stupid fucking dirty ass hand, that they must hate you. You don't know if they might be a germaphobe. You know, they could be like Howie Mandel.
Have social anxiety.
Yeah, they might have social anxiety. It's not about shaking your fucking hand. Nobody's got to do that. You know, especially in the COVID era. Shit, man, just shaking hands. I don't want to be shaking motherfuckers' hands. I'll fist bump you and shit. You know, but
the fact that. But the fact that people legitimately think that they're like owed some type of like, but let me give you some life lesson from a youngin right here that's learned this at a very young age. Nobody owe you nothing. Nobody owe you. Nobody have to do nothing or act a certain way towards you. You are not owed anything. So nobody have to walk up to you and shake their hand. Is it the respectful thing to do? To introduce yourself to everybody in the room? Yes. Do you have to? No, because you don't, because you're a person and you don't have to do anything that nobody tell you to do. That's just what it is. That's life.
Right.
It's free will. So you know what I'm saying? But Nate,
I mean, to that point, Andrew, like I done known this youngster Andrew Thompson for a little minute. This brother ain't never came up and shook my hand, and I don't hold that against you, Andrew. I know you like 4 hours away, but you still could drive down to Newport News and shake a brother's hand. But that's okay.
It's all good, Nate. It's all good. Hey, but look, brothers, hold on. Listen here. Moving on from somebody who you buy.
Let me say one last thing on Mercedes though, real quick, Andrew, because I do want to underscore the point. And you know, you talked about this. We got a NWA group chat set up, also featuring Marcus Vanderberg. He's like the silent member of the Nubian Wrestling Advocates. And you know, the fact that Trinity, you know what I'm saying, was not left behind, right? Like I that to me speaks to Mercedes as a person, right? Like we can have quibbles about, you know, performance or, you know, did that move work? You know, was the pop big enough? Whatever. But your actions show your character. And so, yeah, I'm excited for what Mercedes has got to do. And I'm also like Trinity. I mean, I'm intrigued to see what Trinity's move is now.
Yeah, same here. And people sleeping on Trinity and stuff. I don't understand that. I think she made a grown woman decision when she walked out with Sasha. You know what I'm saying? And we still don't know whose idea it was to walk out, you know? So it's like people are jumping to these crazy conclusions, you know, with the handshaking and the Sasha's corrupting Naomi and all this bullshit. You don't know shit because none of us know shit. Dang, I have tried. I've tried to get the answer to this. I've asked everybody that knows anybody what's the deal, and nobody.
Did he mute himself? You muted yourself, Kris.
There you go. I unmuted you, Kris.
Yeah, and that's their business. You hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay, cool. Let's make sure. Yeah, that's their business. They don't have to tell us anything.
Right.
Yeah.
So moving from somebody who is liked a lot, and some people have their detractors about them, we're gonna go into this next man, Cody Devontae Rhodes. They are airing the vignettes promoting his return. People are assuming, and I think myself is assuming that it's going to happen very soon, maybe even the Royal Rumble. Kris, we talked about this, I think, on the last episode of Nubian Wrestling Advocates. 3 months out from Mania, man. What you thinking, Kris? You thinking it's going to happen, or you still think we getting the Rock? Where you at right now? We are 3 months out from WrestleMania.
If the Rock is coming back, I think the Rock is winning it. If he doesn't come back, I could see Cody winning it. If me personally, I would prefer. I think this would be a good year to have somebody like I would love if Solo Sikoa won the Royal Rumble this year. You know,
okay.
That would be like somebody new. That's kind of, you don't really expect it, because there was a time in WWE a long time ago where, you know, someone like a Shawn Michaels on the come up, or who else? Insert wrestler here would win. Yokozuna the year that he won. You know, you do get these kind of moments. I would really love if Solo Sikoa won it. You know, I would actually prefer him winning it over Sami Zayn. Only because I think Solo Sikoa winning with just the disruption that it would cause, and it would be a lot more interesting, because I think with Sami we kind of see where it's gonna go. But yeah, I think my number one is The Rock. If he comes back, and if he doesn't come back, I could see. I just don't see The Rock being like, yeah, I'm gonna lose this Royal Rumble to all these cats. You know, I just don't see it.
Hey, brother, how lucky is Cody that he basically got to skip like 6 months of booking and come back at this like prime spot where it's just like it's just being assumed that he's going to be one of the marquee people in the Rumble, or like somehow, some way get to that Roman Reigns match. Like, as you look at them building Cody up and, you know, promoting his return and amping him up, you'd have seen that Sister Brandy Rose in the video packages get some TV time, Eating Styles back on return to WWE. But like, what do you think about their sort of you know, building Cody back up, and what do you think is going to happen as we are approaching the Rumble, which is like 2 weeks away? And do you think that that's the route to go, Cody winning the Rumble and challenging Roman, or do you think, like Kris said, we'll get The Rock? Or like, what do you sort of see what's happening as far as Cody Rhodes goes in the, you know, the coming weeks?
So we talked about this a little bit after Cody got injured, right? And I said one of the silver linings in this is that Cody Devontae Rhodes gets to skip 5 or 6 months of just becoming another dude on this show, right? Eventually getting ground down by WWE booking, and now he gets to come back fresh, and people are like, man, we've been missing Cody, you know what I'm saying? And Cody's coming back, So I think this is a good spot for Cody. I think he's the most obvious choice to win the Rumble, but just because he's the most obvious, Andrew, doesn't mean it's the wrong choice. Like, that's who I would go with. I know
that's go ahead. My bad.
Just because something is obvious doesn't mean it's wrong. Like, I think there's a reason formulas work. And I think the formula of Cody stating his mission, coming in, having this big splash at WrestleMania last year, putting on bangers with Seth Rollins, showing up with his whole chest of region, Andrew, looking like a Oompa Loompa, a Grimace, like his whole chest looked like Grimace out there. And then you start to play these vignettes when we're getting close to the Rumble. Like I think there's a formula, tried and true formula, and I would put Cody in that spot. When it comes to The Rock, and again, y'all know I love me some Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Rocky Maivia Picture Show will be coming back, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey.
Don't know if it's gonna be January. Don't know if it's gonna be February, but it's gonna be coming back.
Oh, no, you just gonna casually announce that like that's some small thing.
I'm just saying because we gotta talk about this movie Black Adam, Andrew.
With the Planet, what was it called? Planet 96.
Oh, I mean Planet 51.
Planet 51.
I know that's your favorite, Andrew. That Jorge Blanco joint. But like y'all know, I love The Rock, man. Like The Rock, to me, even when The Rock does wrong, like Young Rock is not a great show, but I'll watch it every now and then on Peacock because I support that brother. But I feel like the momentum for The Rock it's kind of not there right now, Andrew. And I think part of that has to do with just how Roman and the Bloodline have evolved,
bro. They
over the past 6-7 months, right? Like I think it's a different space than we were in last year. Like I think last year would have been a great time for The Rock to come back. And obviously, this year we've got Mania in Hollywood or Hollywood adjacent. Kris knows all the streets. I'm not from LA. Kris knows all the streets and whatnot.
That's on Inglewood
Up to no good. But I think that it would certainly be the biggest match you could put on,
100%.
The Rock versus Roman. But I don't know if it's the right match to put on going forward, if that makes sense.
Like looking at some of the options, like even like Kris said, with Solo Sikoa, what I think he's gonna be doing at the Rumble, he gonna be beating the hell out of that Hardy dude, the singer, the country music singer, I think whatever he is, because they had did something on Raw where he like hit Solo Sikoa over the back with a guitar. So I think that and that dude Hardy's gonna be performing live at the Rumble. So I think Solo is just gonna beat the hell out of him, and that's gonna be his thing. With Sami Zayn, like Nate, this is exactly what I was agreeing with when you was talking about how the obvious choice is not always the bad choice. Sometimes the obvious thing is the way to go. I think that, bro, when you looking at Sami Zayn and the trajectory of like his character and like what he's been able to do with being a part of the Bloodline, I think this is some of his best work that he's ever done in WWE, maybe his best work that he's done in WWE. But like when I'm looking at how this thing's going out, even this past Friday on SmackDown, when he was having a match with Kevin Owens, they was having a banger, and he saw the Bloodline interrupt the match, and he was like, why would y'all like the look on his face, why would y'all do that? And like we're slowly starting to see Sammy, like I think that was just the beginning part of Sammy getting fed up with like, because like it looked like he had Kevin Owens to beat. So I think that Sammy, the end game for this, as far as like Sami Zayn in the Bloodline, is gonna be Sami Zayn challenging Roman Reigns for the title at Elimination Chamber in Montreal. So you know what I'm saying? I think that and people say that's the obvious choice, bro. That's the obvious choice because it's the smart choice. You got Sami Zayn in his home country. I think Sammy's from Montreal, or he may be from like
he's from Montreal.
He's from Montreal, yeah. So that's the Sammy getting his title shot, big title shot in his home country, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? In his own province. Like that's what, like, it's obvious as hell, but that's the move to go. And I think that I think that we'll get Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn in some type of tag match at Mania. Maybe they beat the Usos for one of the tag belts.
I can easily see that.
I know they splitting up. It looked like they about to split up the tag titles right now. I'm glad they doing that. Like, enough with the I'm tired of the double title stuff. Like, let's split these up, keep them on Raw, keep them on SmackDown. But yeah, when I'm looking at Cody, man, I'm looking at how they building them up, and like how Nate said, the obvious choice ain't always the bad choice. Sometimes the obvious thing is what people want. So, like, the reason it may seem obvious is because we in this era of social media, bro. Like, everybody has these ideas, and some of these ideas are really good, and that can lead to things becoming obvious, or like just being like it's like right in your face. And like sometimes that isn't the bad thing to do. Like, I wouldn't be mad if Cody won the Rumble and he went to challenge Reigns for the title. You know what I'm saying? And maybe along the way, you just find a way to sort of distract Cody and sort of put him on this path to, you know, because that is kind of a long ass time. I mean, it's not that long, but like that gap between, you know, the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, that's a 2-month gap. So to keep a character hot from that point on, to, you know what I'm saying? Like, because I definitely think coming out of the Rumble, like Cody, if he were to win the Rumble, he's gonna be hot. You know what I'm saying? But I think that Sami Zayn, he is going to be over like Rover, man. I'm telling you, like when
he gonna have that tribal chief heat.
I'm telling you, but like once they start, like once you get past the Rumble, all eyes gonna be locked on Sami Zayn. I'm telling you, bro. Like he is next up in terms of like somebody that's about to hit this like that next level of like, and I genuinely cannot wait for this baby face turn for Sami. I'm like really excited about that. If that happens, that is the way they're gonna go. But yeah, man, let's it's gonna be cool to see how things plan out. Like I definitely agree with like what Kris was saying. I think Kris said this a couple of times in the last podcast. Like if you talking Rock coming back, like 100%. Like that's what you do. You do Rock Roman at Mania. Don't mess around with it. And because I don't think that you won't gonna get a chance to do it again. And it'll probably be slim if you do try to make it happen like in the future. So I definitely think you got the Rock. You lock that in, bro, and you make that happen. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't be mad at Cody winning the Rumble and coming back. But so moving on. Is everybody good on that? Before I move on to the next thing.
Oh yeah, let's leave this behind.
So this is just a quick one. I got two quick stories, and I'm gonna swing it over to Nate, and then Kris, I got one for you as well. This is just a quick one. You just share your thoughts on it. So brother Nate, this is like I said, it's a quick one right here. Impact World Champion Josh Alexander. He had stated on the Sunday Night's Main Event podcast that he went directly to Impact's talent relations department, and he told them multiple times to check out these brothers, Brian Keith and JDX, independent wrestlers. Brian out of Texas. He just competed in PWG's Battle Los Angeles tournament. Real establishing, like I said, real establishing the state of Texas, man. On that scene, he came out of reality wrestling. And then you got JDX. He was on the Black Wrestlers Matter show. You seen him on the Terminus, AEW in Chicago. For somebody like Josh Alexander, who is the world champion of Impact, to go directly to his talent relations department and say, hey, you need to get these two dudes here. Like, what do you think that says about Josh Alexander to recommend these two brothers, man, for him to, because I mean, he ain't got to do nothing. You know what I'm saying? He ain't got to say nothing to nobody. He ain't got to recommend nobody. It could have just been like a Twitter shout out. Like he's been like, hey, y'all check out these dudes. But for him to go directly to his employer and say that y'all need to be bringing these dudes in, we need to get them here. What do you think that says about Josh Alexander, for him to be looking at these two dudes like that, for Brian Keith and JDX?
It's like the same thing I said about Sasha a little bit earlier, or Mercedes. Your actions reveal your character. And so for him to use that power and to use that privilege, being a world champion, being somebody that, the company obviously has a lot of stock in, and using that power, that privilege, that position to give these other guys a shot. Like, I think it's admirable. It reminds me, on a smaller scale of, Daniel Bryan and Kofi heading into Kofi Mania, right? Like sometimes it takes that co-signer to get folks opportunities. And so like, that's why I'm always like, man, if you are in a spot where you can give somebody a shot, you not a handout, not charity, Kris, but give somebody a legitimate opportunity, a legitimate shot, then you got to give it to them, man. And I think the folks that are generous, with their power, with their position, with their prestige or whatever, like it shows character. Because you're right, man. He ain't had to do nothing, but
he got to do nothing.
He ain't had to do nothing, but be the world champion and get his money and eat some poutine. Like that's all that brother had to do. But he went out here and he's looking out for these two young cats, man. I think that's really admirable, Andrew.
Yeah, and Kris, for you, man, I think recently on the episode of Raw, MVP approached that man, Bobby Lashley, Kris. He said that he appreciated, Bobby Lashley said that he appreciated MVP for getting his suspension lifted, but they're not all the way cool yet. Shelton and Cedric are back teaming again, Kris. Kris, can you see it happening? And do you think that Omar should be a part of the Hurt business?
Over for you, Kris.
What you think going on, Kris?
I mean, I think if they're putting them back together, it would make sense for Omos to be with the group. I mean, MVP doesn't like me.
For real?
Because I made fun of those glow in the dark shirts, that the ones with the letters that look like, I hated those shirts. Like He skipped right over the part where I said I like the regular yellow shirts. I didn't like the shiny shit.
Man, Kris got whole beef with the whole word business.
Yeah.
Omas.
Oh yeah,
Kris, come on, Kris.
Hey,
I need you to think real quick, brother. We started this show off with some great news, man. You about to be married. Y'all got a new chapter in your life about to pop off, man. Think about the choices that you're making, Kris. As our guy Bray Wyatt told Eli Drake a few weeks ago, Andrew, think very carefully about the next words you say, Kris, because they could shape the future of your life. You don't want that smoke with Omas, Uncle P, Roberto, Cedric, and Shelton. Come on, Kris.
No,
I need to help you protect. I need to save you from you, Kris.
No, look, man. MVP. I like MVP as a person. I met him in 2005 at the BET Awards.
Okay, well, right next to Sherry Shepherd.
It was 2008. Yeah, it was that one. It was that one. I think it was 2009 or 10, something like that. And he was a nice dude and all that. I got no problem with them. If I don't like the shirt, this dude start trying to like crack on me personally and shit. You can do that, but I come from black people that make fun of you for every single thing.
I'm telling you, bro.
Yeah. So that doesn't hurt my feelings, but shoot, man, like it just kind of. I'm not some internet troll out here to make fun of MVP.
I'm at Kris said I give you these hands. Play with me.
Yeah.
I'm playing.
No, I didn't say all that, man. I will reiterate. I do at 40 plus years old. I do not do the fisticuffs. I do machinery.
Hey, mute him, bro.
Yeah. Hey, I'm just saying. Like,
Kris, stop, bro. Stop. You about to wild out.
No, that's just what it.
He was about to wild out just now, bro.
John Away about to get a call from the legal department in the morning.
No. I come from the FAFO school. The fuck around and find out. If that's something that you feel required to do, because people on these wrestling streets, it is what it is.
Hey, bro. Hey, bro. I swear.
Yes, Kris, this is a family show, man. Come on, brother.
Hey, bro. Let me tell you something. If that's not a clip that I see floating around, I would be so mad, bro. Because that needs to be a clip that's going. That was hilarious. Now, I give a Kris saying though, like all seriousness. Don't disrespect the MVP. Let's go ahead and clear that up firstly.
Yeah, we all love MVP,
and I do love MVP. I do love MVP,
and they never should have broke up the Hurt business in the first place.
And I agree with that as well. But yeah, don't with the personal jabs and shit, man, and like, come on, dude.
All right, so hey, Nate and Kris, this is our last story, man. Before we wrap it up.
Yeah, we got to get out of here. The block is getting real hot, Andrew.
Yeah, block getting hot, man. But lastly, I think this one that all of us been wanting to talk about on screen for the longest. Mandy Rose, no longer with WWE. She was released from the company after dropping the NXT Women's Championship to Roxanne Perez. Fight for Select. They was the first to report that WWE felt they had to let Mandy Rose go because of the nature of the content she was posting on her fan time page. Kris, I'm gonna go to you first. That fan time page has made Mandy Rose a millionaire in the span of a month. She did guest appear on the Tamron Hall show, and she said that she was warned. Yeah, she was warned once about the content, and she complied to a certain degree. But when it came time for her departure, the fan time page was not cited as the reason why she was let go. She was not told that was the reason why she was let go. Kris, what did you initially make of all this, and what do you make of it now as Mandy Rose has been able to speak her piece, like I said on the Tamron Hall show?
So first of all, shout out to Tamron Hall. I tweeted about that interview and stuff, and Tamron Hall gave me a like and a retweet. And what I said was Tamron Hall gave Mandy Rose a great interview. She asked all the good questions. She treated her profession like with the respect and dignity that it deserved. And she gave her a platform to talk. She researched. I could tell Tamron Hall probably doesn't watch a ton of wrestling, but for this, she did her research. Right. And I think that I don't think Mandy Rose took full advantage of being on that show. It goes back to the way people just the reverence they have for that company is just I don't want to burn a bridge stuff. I think that's more of a in your head. If Bret Hart hasn't burned a bridge with WWE,
that's a fact.
There's so many people who have done and said a lot worse about WWE that still go in and out of that.
They brought the Ultimate Warrior back.
They brought Ultimate Warrior back, Bruno Sammartino back, Billy Graham for decades accused those dudes of why he was abusing steroids, and then they brought him back for the Hall of Fame. I think we can safely assume that there is no burning bridges when it comes to WWE.
I was about to say, Chris, real quick, and even a recent example, they brought Carl Anderson back. He trashed the hell out of them when he left.
Yeah, it's like people would have this fixation. Oh, I better not say the wrong thing. In my opinion, if you're gonna go on Tamron Hall, this woman's got a worldwide audience. She is giving you a chance to speak. She doesn't have to have you on the show. No. There were so many different news stories that she could have been talking about that week. She thought your story was intriguing. And then for you to go on that sister show and then just kind of dance around the issues that you were so vocal about online, I just don't understand it. And this isn't a knock on Mandy Rose. I just think when you get platforms like that to speak your piece, you don't have to trash the company. You just need to you could speak about why you disagree in a dignified way, and whatever the lawyers tell you to avoid them. But I mean, if you're going to be on that show, I just think there's a protocol, right? It's not. Yeah.
No, just add on what you said, Chris. Like, as far, and I'm gonna kick it over to you, Nate. But like Mandy, she like that was her first time like ever speaking about it. Like, she kind of like avoided, but she just didn't say anything on social media. Period. Like, she kept quiet, and that was her thing. She wanted to, and I definitely get what Chris saying to the point of people want to hear exactly what happened. But I remember there was a quote in there where she was like, there was like I guess like legal ramifications or something along the line where she couldn't speak about certain stuff. But like Nate, it did get mentioned on the Tamron Hall show that a photo of the NXT UK women's title and the photo of the NXT women's title was covering Mandy's body.
Yeah.
And WWE reposted that image on the social media pages. So I'm gonna ask you the same question that Tamron asked her. Do you think that was some hypocrisy right there, considering the content that was being posted? But you can, you got these photos. I mean, that photo of the title belts covering her body. But like it's the issue on the side of her making money from that type of content. Like, do you think there was some hypocrisy there? And also, what did you think about the whole general situation as it is?
Yeah, it's definitely hypocrisy. I mean, it's also hypocrisy from a company that for years prided itself in having its female performers pose in Playboy, right? It's also hypocrisy who for years had their female performers in bra and panties matches. I know Jermaine sheds a tear that those are no longer a thing. Shout out to brother Jermaine and shout out to Jermaine.
Hey, Jermaine, we saw you in them comments too, bro. I saw Brett in them comments. He talking about let me manage Mandy Rose OnlyFans. I saw you.
Shooters gonna shoot. Shooters gonna shoot.
Okay, that boy ain't got no shame. Hey, but
my man Jermaine pull up from half court like Trey Young.
Man.
But yeah, shout out to that man Jermaine. But yeah, so it is hypocrisy. It's also something that I've always had an issue with, Andrew. with, and I don't want to get into another long topic, but that independent contractor status, because this is a company that loves to play that card, but then will also crack down on these independent contractors when they're doing something else to earn a living, whether it be Twitch, whether it be fans only, or whatever the hell this site is called, whether it be Cameo, stuff like that. Like, it's like, if they can't get their hands in the cookie jar, they don't want you making cookies. You know what I mean? They want to shut down the whole damn Keebler Elf tree. They don't want anybody making cookies except for WWE. And so I wish Mandy would have said more. I understand if there's some legal reasons why she couldn't.
Yeah.
But to me, I'm of the opinion, particularly now in this age of social media, in this age of, everybody kind of having their own outlet, like, and maybe this is telling you a little bit about myself, Andrew Thompson. Like, if I was in better shape, I'd have me one of them damn sites. And if John was like, hey, Nate, you can't have one of them sites, man, where you ain't wearing nothing but a post-wrestling toque, and that's all that's on the website. Like, hey, man, money is money. But I lost my train of thought right there, because I was thinking about my website. I got to lose like at least 40 pounds, though, and like get this six-pack right. But that's neither here nor there. We talking about Mandy Rose. Mandy Rose, to me, I feel like it's a situation where, unfortunately, a lot of performers get kind of stuck in this trap. And so, like, I was never like the biggest fan of Mandy Rose, but Mandy Rose had value to that company, particularly on NXT 2.0, Chris's favorite show. Like, they built a lot of the advertising around that show around Mandy Rose and Toxic Attraction. And so the way they did her, like, if you're selling her, her sex appeal on USA and on all the commercials, so you can get these 50-year-old men to watch this show, and then you get offended or you get upset because she's using her own sexuality to make money, I think that's wrong.
And then it's not only even that, because that's true, but then you have like guys like Booker T and stuff, like just talking about
what Uncle Booker say.
Booker hating, bro. Yeah, he be hating on everybody.
Like, and I just like it. The double standard in wrestling is just really it's disgusting and toxic, and I think it's gonna stay like that if talent goes on these shows like Tamron Hall, and because Tamron did ask her the basic question: is this hypocrisy on WWE's part?
She asked her multiple times, bro.
Yeah, it's like you gotta give this woman something, man. I mean, because you went through the trouble of getting booked on that show, and then you really didn't say anything. Like, what was the point of that whole appearance? Because now, like, it's something that, if you don't watch wrestling, it's something that you'll easily forget about. And that's my whole point, is like, you go on these shows, you got to kind of, make it to where we're at least talking about it for a little while, and that's my opinion. Someone's asking about Ricky Starks.
Okay, well, real quick, Chris, while we look that up, I do want to say, though, like, I appreciate Mandy for being out here trying to maximize and leverage, her earning potential. And to that point, if y'all want to get into this conversation a little bit more, there's a way to do that, and that is by hitting that super chat button, because the super chat button puts you to the front of the line. The super chat button makes you Tamron Hall, because that way you can ask me and Chris and Andrew all the questions you want to ask. And so hit that super chat button. We winding up to getting close to the end of the show this month. But Chris, I know you were looking up the Ricky Starks info. What's good with Ricky? What's good with our boy Absolute?
I've already lost the damn comment, but I can.
Ricky Starks got like an OnlyFans something. Is that what the commenter was saying?
I hope. That will.
Hey man, somebody wants.
Yeah, I know.
Don't hate on that brother for making his money. I already told you, if I look like Ricky Starks, I'll be doing it right now.
Yeah,
wouldn't even be no NWA podcast. I'd be making my millions like Mandy Rose.
Yeah, Ricky Starks is my dude. I'll say that. If y'all
future AEW World Champion Ricky Starks.
Yeah, man, we like Ricky.
I'll say this about Ricky Starks now that he's brought up. The difference between Ricky Starks and Austin Theory, in my opinion, is that I think that Ricky Starks' push to the top is a little bit more organic than like what my biggest problem with Austin Theory is not really anything personal with him. It's just I always feel like WWE is telling me that I'm supposed to like that guy, or I'm supposed to care about that guy.
He's Poochie from The Simpsons,
right? Yeah. Whereas with Ricky Starks, it reminds me a throwback to like when guys like Bret Hart. It took him years before he won the world championship. And what's his name? Shawn Michaels, the same way. Shawn Michaels came into WWE in 1988, I believe it was, 89, and didn't win the world championship until 96. It's like an organic push, and the fans feel like they are on the journey with that guy. And I think that's kind of like what WWE has lost for a lot of years. It's like there's no one person except for Kofi Kingston and Daniel Bryan, and they lucked into both of those situations. And I think Ricky Starks, the way AEW handles him, is going to be important. You know, I didn't necessarily love what they did with him the other day on I think it was Rampage. I thought the promo wasn't great. It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great. Some making fun of people. I don't know about the Lisp community, how offended they were about him making that joke on Jack Swagger or Jake Hager, making fun of the dude's lisp. I you know, that's you know, look, I get, like I said, I come from a community of people. I'm talking about in my purview where they just make fun of you for anything and everything, and I just take it on the chin. So but I understand how someone with a lisp could get offended by that. But
real quick before we log out, that man John Jones back March 4th. John Jones is back. I ain't seen this. I don't know when the last time this man fought, but yeah, I don't know, man. I just saw that on Instagram, so I was amped about that. I just had to say that. But like on the Ricky Starks one, before we get out of here, like I mean, I get what Kris was saying as far as like people being offended by certain stuff, depending on like if they have a personal relation to that. Like I sort of come from a similar background, very much similar. Like even when I was in school, bro. Like if you didn't know how to like talk trash at the school, bro, then you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. Like until you learned how to be funny, people was gonna cook you. You know what I'm saying? Yes. Like you had to learn how to be funny, bro. And even if you was funny, that don't mean people was just not gonna say that about you. But it would just decrease the chances of people messing with you, right?
Because there was always somebody funnier or quicker than you.
Somebody funnier than you, bro.
And the thing, and someone said that he told dude to check his girl or something. I'll tell you this. With my ex-girlfriend, not my current girlfriend, because everybody likes her, but my ex-girlfriend, I had more women than men telling me, yo, Kris, check your girl, yo, because like that was my responsibility, right? Like her running her mouth was somehow my fault. I do think that we are wrestling is just weird right now, man. It's like, because this stuff, because like even with MJF, for example, he start making fun of Takeshita's. He start making fun of his name, and the stuff he said was pretty stereotype, and that's I never really. The only time I ever hated like race angles and stuff like that is when the racists win in the angle.
Right.
Like the Kofi stuff didn't bother me because Kofi ended up winning the world title. The Booker T stuff did bother me because I had to sit through like 6 or 7 months of racism just to watch this brother lose. So that that bothered me on a different level.
And for more on that match, check out the first edition of Bushby and Thompson's Wrestling Adventure, available in the Post Wrestling Archives.
But I appreciate the shout out, man. Hey, but Nate, real quick, for the first time, and I don't know how long, let's get this intro out the way so we can be done in an hour. Boom.
Yes,
look at that.
Yes, this is amazing. This is like
history right here.
History in the making, ladies and gentlemen. This is how we start in 2023, ladies and gentlemen. You know what I'm saying? Vince McMahon trying to claw back in. We got Mercedes Moné out here on these streets. We got Cody Devontae Rhodes, but through it all, the advocates are back. So, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate everybody for tuning in tonight. We appreciate everybody for listening in the future on the podcast form or watching on YouTube. Before we get out of here, we definitely want to give a shout out to John Pollock and Wei Ting, the proprietors of Post Wrestling, for being generous with the platform and all the work that they do here at Post. So before we get out of here, Andrew Thompson, the youngest in charge, one of the hardest working brothers in the game. Know you got a lot going on this week. Just let the people know what you got going on and where they can find you, brother.
Hey, check me out, all things on postwrestling.com, Twitter, AD_Thompson__. Same thing on Instagram. And yeah, that's about it. Check out all the content that will be posting on my personal page and on Post Wrestling, and let's keep it going. Strong 2023.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, check out all of Andrew's work, man. The brother does good work, even though he never shook my hand. I appreciate this brother's dedication, man. He's a good dude. Kris, let the people know where they can find all of your work, particularly with WrestleNomics, where they can, find you on social media if they want to have a debate about Second Amendment rights. Kris, where can they find you, brother?
Yeah, if you want to have a debate on Second Amendment rights, you can follow me on Twitter, and I will definitely give you a nuanced take on that.
Chris Pillman.
Well, Pillman didn't believe in calling 911. I'll still call 911 before it comes to that. But also, I'm working on 2 different articles at the moment. The one that the priority one is the one on Vince McMahon with WrestleNomics, and is right now it's just a matter of me getting into the right headspace because I got a lot going on at the moment. I'm doing this diet, this whole 30 diet, so I haven't eaten any dairy or cheese or bread or anything like that for the last.
I was wondering what that sound was in the background. That was your stomach. You ain't eating nothing.
Like
this man, all Kris is eating is lettuce and drinking mimosas. That's all that's keeping him going.
Yeah, it's like because like I said, that I went nuts when I went to New York, New Jersey, and then when I went to Atlanta and South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, when you go places, people feed you. That is just what it is, man. And so now I kind of have to pay my penance for that. But yeah, man, just follow me on Twitter. KM Easy does it. I'm keeping it around for a little bit longer. I'm not on it as much as I used to be, but I still talk to my dudes on there, and all that. So just reach out, yeah.
Yeah, so shout out to that good brother, the Professor Kris Ealy. Always a pleasure catching up with you every month on this show, brother. And Andrew, we love Kris, but don't let him fool you, man. Like Kris, everybody was feeding me during the holidays, We know Kris was just carbo loading because he know come April, almost gonna be on these streets, Kris. Almost gonna be on La Brea, La Hacienda. I don't know these streets, Kris, but he gonna be on them streets.
Yeah, he will probably be on La Brea, probably see me Santa Monica. Anywhere that's
he gonna be on the 405 looking for you, Kris.
It's just if you try to find me,
Nate.
Right.
Nate, go ahead and do your intro, bro. Do outro.
Yes. Well, speaking of MVP, we do want to wish everybody a happy MLK Day. Shout out to MVP Lashley and Kenny King. But yeah, shout out to Martin Luther King Day. I'll be working, unfortunately, because this is America. But I hope everybody has a safe and happy MLK Day. And I'm excited for the next edition of this show, which will be our February edition, which is going to be a big one because it is Black History Month. So I'm excited. We plan to have a guest on. So that's going to be a big show. But for more of me, if you want to hear more from me, I'm going to go full screen one last time right here on the show for everybody watching. Bam. So you ain't even had to pay my OnlyFans prices to see this, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to hear more from me, you can check me out on the Kings of Sport podcast. The Kings of Sport, like as I said off the top, this is our 10th year of the Kings of Sport. Started back in 2013. Myself and Marcus Vanderberg. Kris has been along for a lot of the journey. Andrew Thompson has shown up from time to time. So you can check all of that out at the Kings of Sport Patreon, patreon.com/Kings of Sport. $5 gets you in the door. But if you want to pay more, I will not stop you. I'm trying to get it back up and running. Like we slagged off a little bit during the holidays, but we coming back with a vengeance in 2023. Speaking of coming back with a vengeance, the Rocky Maivia Picture Show is coming back with a vengeance, ladies and gentlemen, to talk about that movie Black Adam, starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. The hierarchy of power in the DC universe has changed, and we're going to talk about it either this month or next month, probably next month on my work schedule. But I'm also on the DC TV Podcast Network as 1/4 of the Lituation Room, along with Brittany Monet, Clement Bryant, and the always opinionated and educated Vanessa Shark. We're going to be doing a double feature that should be out either the end of January or the beginning of February, talking about Black Adam and Black Panther Wakanda Forever, as well as all of the latest news and notes from around the world of geekdom. We're going to talk about that Ant-Man 2 trailer that all of us sat through that terrible national championship college football game on Monday to watch like 120 seconds of Ant-Man for like all 4 of those damn quarters of that terrible football game, but go Dogs. And the last place you can find me is Place B Nation. Place B Nation, I'm part of the main event, along with Scott Criscola, the Sheriff Pete Schermacher, and our good friend here. He was on the show last month, Steve Willie, the conscience of Place B Nation. So for everything else, check me out on Twitter at @8 MOZAIK, at Nate Mosaic on Twitter. But yeah, thank y'all for tuning in tonight. We had fun as always, and we're going to come back in February and do it again as only the advocates can. So for the youngest in charge, Andrew Thompson. For this man right here, this man on your screen, the Professor Kris Ealy. You know what, Kris? I'm gonna bring you back one last time because I do want to leave the show by reiterating how happy we are for the news that you shared with us, brother. We are extremely excited for this man, and you're a good dude, and she is a good woman. And she puts up with you. So we are very happy for the both of y'all, brother.
Oh, yeah. Appreciate it. Thank you all for the love and everything. And kind Japan, we will talk about the MJF stuff at a later date because that ain't going away. He will say something else, and we will handle it when we handle it. But yeah, man, thanks for everybody out there wishing me goodwill and good luck on my journey. I appreciate that, man. And I guess it's looking at my Rolly, it's about that time, right?
Yes. And in Kris's wedding, Andrew, much like the revolution, may not be televised. Actually, I don't know if Kris's wedding's gonna be podcasted, so that was a bad setup for me. Take 2. The revolution may not be televised, but it damn sure will be podcasted. We'll see y'all in February.
Yo, it's Righteous Reg. It's a case for the safe, keep a space for the Nubians. Unfiltered, off-kilter, the professor, the godfather, post-wrestling, the NWA, not keep guessing, The views and expressions, you know the rest is pod excellence, get the message. Advocates for Nubian wrestling, you're listening to the best again. Black wrestling in the ring we invested in. Nubian kings and queens we invested in. It's for the culture and we reppin' it. for the culture and we reppin' it.